We settled down in a secluded corner, all wearing grave expressions. The more I think about it, the more I'm able to come to grips that I casted from within, and the more excited I feel. After all, I just did the impossible. The silence is stifling. I can feel the questions teetering on the edge of my team's lips, but no one seems willing to speak up first. I want to see if I can cast that again, but the inn isn't the best place to do that. Leanna is the first to break the silence.
So, the beach...
I look at her.
You casted without a manipulator.
Yeah. Hearing that still sounds so weird and unnatural.
How did you do it?
I have no idea. Everything happened so fast.
Perhaps you can recall certain stimuli which may have affected you differently.
Well, I didn't want the boy to die. The small boy, sorry. I think back. The kid was falling and I didn't want him to get hurt. And then it just happened.
Was there a technique you used which is different than what you normally do?
I don't know. I reached out and then energy shot out of my arm.
Did the energy feel any different?
Amy raises a brow at Kara.
What? I'm not a caster.
Maybe a bit more concentrated? I really don't remember. My mind was focused on other things. Amy frowns.
There must have been an effect which triggered the change in the cast. Something which allowed you to connect with your inner reservoir of energy. If you could just recall what it is, you could replicate the cast.
I mean, theoretically at least, yeah? My mind is a swirl of thoughts. Leanna notices my discomfort.
Maybe we should table this discussion for later.
It is imperative that we discover how to recreate the cast.
I agree, but we may be more successful if he tries to cast again. And the inn isn't the ideal place to practice.
Not wrong. Amy pauses, then nods.
You are correct. We shall attempt to recast again when we are more isolated.
Maybe we should figure out our next steps for finding the water temple.
You're right. We had our break at the beach, but we did come here for a reason.
This city is the closest to the islands among the coast. If I recall correctly, the exact location of the water temple has been lost to even Elderism. My assumption would be that it is located on one of those islands, similar to how the wind temple was located on the floating isles.
That's fair.
An intelligent assumption.
Oh.
But one that will keep you from the true location, I fear.
Who's Gingalain? He has a full thing. This is a super important dude. This is an important dude right here. He has a full-on sprite. We turn to the stranger approaching our table. His silver hair is pulled back out of his face to reveal kind brown eyes. He's tall in stature with a sturdy build, but the rugged lines in his face shows his age. Even though the rugged lines show his age would be more accurate. He offers us a genuine smile through his full beard.
That which has been hidden from memory is safely stored beneath nature's rocky peaks.
Who are you, Gingalain? What? Who is this guy, and why is he eavesdropping on our conversation? And how long has he been listening, and what has he heard? Zack narrows his eyes.
And who are you?
Just a simple bard.
Bard.
The man's eyes light up. He clears his throat.
I warned the lonely soul not to seek comfort from the sea, for her will cannot be tamed, and when she pulls him into a watery bosom for his death, she cannot be blamed.
Oh, that's kind of dark. Suddenly, Leanna leaps out of her chair. It topples over with a clatter. Her cheeks are rosy and her voice grows in enthusiasm as she finishes the recitation.
And yet still he sought her bravely, wading ever deep. And far beneath her seafoam lace, his secrets she will keep.
But he drowned, right? So... Her eyes shine with a bright wonder as she stares transfixed at the man. He grins at her.
That was beautiful. I thank you.
I feel like the color, by the way, for his name is a poor choice. It's hard to read, and a little bit, it's just kind of blaring, you know?
I love the poetry of Gingalain. It's great to meet someone who also knows of his work.
No, this is Gingalain. This is him. This is the dude. The man grins but doesn't say more.
When did you come across his poem?
Just after I finished writing it, I suppose.
Leanna looks as if she just had a heart attack. She falls onto the floor and begins writhing.
You're Giggling?
He nods and bows slightly. Leanna takes in a sharp breath of air, then squeals excitedly.
I can't believe I'm talking to the Giggling!
She hops up and down in excitement and giggles like a schoolgirl. Her face is flushed and there are stars in her eyes.
Your poems and stories are what got me through my toughest years at the academy. Would it be okay if... I mean, it's just such an honor. Can I shake your hand?
In response, Gingalain holds Leanna's hands in his own, and she lets out a squeak at his touch.
I am honored to meet someone who has such a deep appreciation for my work.
Who's Gingalain? Kara and Zack wear the same blank expression I have.
You don't know him?
I'm new!
The famous bard! He's traveled throughout Asaria, recording the stories of adventurers. His poems are known throughout Havengard. He's a legend.
You give me too much credit.
You're just being humble.
Leanna looks completely smitten. I'd like to check out his work. Please, it's not like he's a rocket scientist. I don't get the appeal of celebrities. I don't like how into this guy Leanna is. I feel like the bottom three are all kind of rude, so I'm gonna go with the top one. Leanna speaks really highly of him, and I haven't seen her this excited about anything else. Maybe his work is worth checking out. I'd love to read one of your poems.
You're too kind. Perhaps I could give you a live performance, if there's time.
Oh, Leanna would die. He taps his flute. Leanna's eyes go wide.
A live performance would be the best thing ever.
Oh, actually, I think I have heard of this guy. You wrote about the thief and the purple marble, right?
He seems pleasantly surprised.
One of my earlier works. I am pleased people are still familiar with it. It is a fun little tale.
That doesn't explain why you're here, or why you were listening in on us.
Oh, I'm sorry if I overstepped, but it's been a long time since I'd heard anyone talk about the temples. I couldn't help but be interested.
Fair.
And it sounds like you could use some help, too. I can guide you to the entrance of the water temple. It's located below the mountain valley.
I mean, given that he has, like, the full sprite, are we getting another party member? I mean, like, it would make some... If we're thinking, like, D&D parties, the bard is what you add, like, as the 4th or 5th character, you know? It's either that or he's gonna, like, be a bad guy. I'm thinking... It seems at this point like he's joining us. And it sounds like you use some help too. It's located below the mountain valley. Okay. How do you know where it is? He knowingly taps his nose.
As a bard, I do come across all manner of stories and information.
He strokes his beard in thought.
If you're open to the suggestion, I'd be happy to show you where it is.
Why would you want to join us?
I'll admit my motives are a bit selfish. If your adventure is seeking out the temple, I'd like to share in your adventure.
Leanna gasps.
You want to record a story about us?
He nods.
I promise I won't be dead weight. I know the journey through the temples is treacherous, but I have heard a lot about them through my own travels.
Zack seems skeptical.
Stories are stories. How do we know if your information is accurate?
Well, I mean, if we were gonna just hop from island to island, we might as well check this place out first, too. Alright. Oh, just might as well. Kara nods, by the way.
Yeah, that one about the thief seemed pretty fantastical.
Because he's Gingalain. He doesn't need to make up stories. He bases them all on real events.
Throughout this, Amelia has been scanning through Elderissim's notes. Not possessive.
Perhaps there is merit in what the bard says. If even Elder Ism had difficulty locating it, then it must be well hidden. We do know that the Aquarians use the nearby mountains as defenses against neighboring tribes. It is not unlikely that the temple could have been built within the mountain. Difficult terrain deters unwanted visitors.
Deters, yeah.
Then it's settled. Gingalan can lead us to the temple.
Is it Gingalan? Because I thought you were saying Gigalain at first.
It
like
would
Gingalain.
be valuable to have the aid of a
So
knowledgeable bard such as he. I spent many a late night reading through his tales of past heroes. They are quite fascinating.
Gingalain smiles warmly.
They deserve all the recognition they've received.
Kara eyes the people trickling into the inn. They talk animatedly about the secret mage at the beach today.
It is getting a bit late. Maybe we should turn in for the night. We can head to the water temple tomorrow with the help of our new guide.
Agreed. I also don't really want to listen to people talk about the beach incident. What if there's an unlikely chance someone recognizes me? Gingalain smiles at us and pushes himself to his feet.
I'm very excited to see this next adventure unfold. I will meet you here in the morning.
We say our goodbyes and head upstairs. Alright. As I get ready for bed, I notice the Pongo never returned. He's probably decided to spend the night with the girls. The lucky Pongo gets to go wherever he likes. I crawl into my bed and eventually fall into a dreamless sleep. It's dreamless, but we still get happy, peaceful, sleepy time music, so can't be that bad. The next morning, we meet Gingalain bright and early downstairs of the inn. He leads us towards the city exit, and soon we return to familiar roads. Our path takes us along the beach for a short while. The white sands glitter beneath the sunlight and filter annoyingly into our shoes. Eventually, we return to flat dirt roads and travel late into dusk. When the sun is finally creeping below the horizon, we stop a bit off of the main path into a grove of trees to make camp. After the fire is lit, the savory perfume of dinner makes my stomach growl. We all gather together as we serve out the food. Kara sits close to Zack during dinner, her arm brushing against his whenever she takes a bite of food. I catch Zack glancing at her every once in a while before quickly looking away. Leanna scoots closer to Gingalain.
So, Gingalan, can you tell us some more stories?
Yeah, now she's saying Gingalain. So, or maybe she said it before, I thought I heard Gingalain.
Oh,
I'll try to
don't
say
know.
Gingalain. Leanna squirms.
Please?
She moves even closer. Her eyes glitter with the kind of excitement I usually associate with small children.
We'd love to hear one.
Amelia takes a tiny bite and then nods.
Perhaps one which is not as widely known.
Leanna beams at Gingalain.
Well, if that's what you wish, how can I refuse?
There's a heavy pause. After a moment, Gingalain takes a deep breath.
I loved a Shadowcaster.
His voice was low and sad.
I loved how her giggles shimmered with silver. I loved her moonlit hair, her star-flecked fingers. Together we wished, we teased, we played. She covered me in twilight, in soft murmurs and rain. I'll show you, my sweetling, she whispered, she soothed. My friends and their shadow magic are just misunderstood. But little by little, her mind turned to dark flowers and violent meteor showers. Shadows poured from her mouth. She spat, she swore, she roared, splattering me with ink, with oil and ore. The night was too strong, too much underneath her skin. It flared from her fingers, her shoulders, her rings. She tore apart our friendship, our home, our dreams. Surely, her friends, dishonest and cruel, surely she had me fooled.
Gingalain pauses. For a moment, I'm not sure if he's going to continue.
I joined them and discovered too late the mistake I had made. They had been wrong, not her. She was trying to save them, to keep their magic pure. But the shadows, they whispered. They crawled and lingered. She fell into my arms, light as mist. Her power wreathed about her neck, her chest, her wrists. She sobbed, she whimpered. Please, take me with you. We'll cuddle in our garden of auroras. We'll build a house of starlight, of everything lovely and bright. But there was nothing I could do. She faded into twilight, into smoke and wind. I'm left with nothing but the memory of her left on my skin.
Well, that was a sad poem. There's a thick silence, the weight of his story still hanging in the air. The moonlight casts over Gingalain's silver hair and beard, bringing out the dark shadows across his face. The fire crackles and pops. Finally, Gingelin bows his head.
Thank you for listening to my tale.
Leanna's eyes shimmer with tears.
That was so beautiful.
Gingelin smiles, but it doesn't quite reach his eyes.
Thank you.
But it was also so sad.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. It was okay. This wheezy old man is using poetry to steal my girl. Poor main character. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of poetry myself, but I'm gonna go with this, yeah. My heart caves in my chest. Wow, that's such a horrible thing to have to go through. I mean, when you consider the fact that apparently he bases all of his stories or poems on actual events, yeah, like that's a sad tale for sure. I tried to imagine watching someone I love slowly deteriorate into madness. It couldn't have been easy. And then not having the power to be able to help or stop it. My heart goes out to whoever this was. It was beautifully written. Gingelin looks up at me. His smile is small and sad, and I think I see gratitude in his eyes. Does this story have to do with him? He nods.
Thank you.
Soon after, we finish eating. Gingelin leaves to refill his canteen with water from a nearby stream. Leanna and Amelia go out into the field, but I'm not too certain what it is that they're doing. Zack and Kara clean up and seem very content to do so without my help.
Oh, that looks fun.
I look up. Gingelin is standing there, retying his canteens to his belt. What does? He nods towards Leanna and Amelia. I follow his gaze to see them practicing magic out in the field. Amelia waves her hand and sends a small flurry of ice across the grass. The Pongo grins, hopping up and down with excitement.
Boy!
He bounces after it, making Leanna giggle. Her manipulator pulses blue and a small gust of wind breathes out from underneath him. It makes him hover above the ground.
It's okay. I got you.
Leanna's breeze glides him along above the grass, steady and strong. The Pongo's eyes light up. Leanna beams. She continues to push the Pongo along, gathering speed and momentum. She makes him soar across the grass, and he lets out a loud squeak of delight. Amelia spirals more and more ice and snow, her magic trailing behind the Pongo and glittering like the tail of a shooting star. Gingelin sits down beside me.
When I first met you, I felt like I could sense some magic within you, too.
I mean, I have a manipulator, so that would make sense. Gingelin studies me. His eyes seem to stare deep within me, as if trying to unmask my secrets. I shift underneath his gaze. Does he already know about me? I mean, if he heard you guys talking about the temple, he very well could have heard the part right before then when you were talking about, casting without a manipulator. No, I'm just being paranoid. Shaking the thought out of my head, I smile at Gingelin, who returns my grin. His eyes crinkle warmly as he smiles.
Admittedly, I'm curious to know more about you. Perhaps I could dedicate a whole verse about you and your adventures.
A verse? About me? He nods again, his smile bright and excited.
Where is it you hail from?
Isaria?
Yes, but where in Isaria?
Somewhere far away. A small place. You wouldn't know it.
Try me. I am fairly well traveled.
I rack my brain for the name of a city or a place. Any name. I'm from New York, in the magical school of Hogwarts, the barren lands of Winterfall. Whatever. I'm from New York. It's called New York. Dang it, that's not what I meant to say. Gingelin blinks in surprise.
New York?
Yep, like I said. Why is that first comment there? Like I said, small place, tiny town, smallest town ever. Not many people have ever heard of it. Or not many people have heard of it. Gingelin nods, looking deep in thought.
What is New York like?
People shop and go to work. It's pretty boring and super normal.
How odd. I haven't heard of it.
He fixes me with that same stare, and once again, I feel the anxiety rise within me. Does he know I'm lying? Gingelin's smile falters, but he doesn't press me.
Did you leave to study at the Mage Academy?
Leanna taught me. Well, kind of. Not exactly. Leanna taught me everything I know.
Oh, are you training to be a mage knight as well?
Kind of. She's been training me in both casting technique and sword fighting. He nods.
I see. And how long have you been training with her?
How long have I been on Terra? It feels like years, but it couldn't have been more than a few months. For a little bit, I guess.
Well, you must have a very high aptitude for magic indeed.
My heart stops. I haven't cast it in front of him before. How does he know? What makes you say that?
Well, it takes a very skilled mage to be able to train into a mage knight.
I laugh nervously. Oh, right. Of course.
Hey, what are you guys up to?
I look up to see Leanna standing behind me. She grins with her hands on her hips. Bits of her hair is sparkling from Amelia's ice magic. I'm just chatting. I shoot to a stand, probably a little too fast, but I'm eager to get out of this conversation as quickly as possible. I'm feeling a bit tired, so I think I'm gonna turn in early. Ginglin inclines his head.
Thanks for humoring this old bard.
I nod and shuffle over to the bedrolls. I see Leanna take my newly vacant seat. The Pongo bounces over to me, shimmering from the magic.
Boy!
Did you have a good time?
Boy!
Yes, he did. He jumps up and down, mimicking flying. I saw that. You did fly.
Boy!
He jiggles happily and nestles in beside me. It isn't too long before I hear the others start to wind down for the night. I guess I really was more tired than I thought, because I soon fall asleep to the warm glow of the fire. Alright, happy, peaceful, sleepy time music, and... One sec, I gotta check my phone. I am back, and someone is shaking me. I groan and blink awake. Everything still looks fuzzy. It's still dark out. What time is it? A blurry shape hovers over my face. Ugh. I'm shaken again, harder this time. What? I groan and blink again, squinting. It takes a few minutes for my eyes to adjust. A few minutes? Amy?
Yes. Good evening.
Hi. She doesn't move. Her face is blank but expectant. What's up?
I wish to be with you in private.
Oh. I have a girlfriend. You're too young! Heck yeah, is everything okay? Yeah. This is the first time Amy has sought me out. Something must really be on her mind. Are you alright?
Yes. There's a matter I wish to discuss with you.
Oh, okay. Give me a second. I slip out of my bedroll and stand beside her.
Please, come this way.
Alright, will do. She turns on her heel with a twirl of her cloak and leads me off to the side, far away from the camp and the rest of the group. So, what is it?
I have been pondering the possibility for you casting without the use of a manipulator.
Oh?
I believe it may be because you've absorbed magic from the elementals directly.
I think that would make sense, yeah?
That reservoir of magic has been within you since the Fire Temple, and it merely has been a matter of unlocking your potential to cast from within to utilize the energy.
That makes sense.
The harrowing situation on the beach proved it to be possible for you to channel from within. After having ample time to think, I believe it will be simple for you to pull that energy again.
Well, if it's simple, awesome. Okay.
If this is the case, then perhaps you are able to cast more than one element.
Oh, see, again, I already thought I was able to cast more than one element. I know I've only been casting wind magic, but I thought that was just because my teacher was Leanna, who could only cast wind magic. But I assumed, since I've been, especially considering I've been harnessing energy from the Fire Temple, the Earth Temple, the Air Temple, or Wind Temple, whatever it is, I assumed that, yeah, I had the capability to cast those elements. So this comes not as a shock to me. My eyebrows knit together. More than one? She nods.
Thus far, you have only manipulated wind energy. That would lead me to the conclusion that despite the energy you absorbed, you were only using wind energy. If my theory is correct, I believe you may have untapped magic gathered inside of you, those of the other elements.
But that would also mean then that I have a finite amount of energy. So I really probably shouldn't be trying to create a temporal rift until I have, like, all of the energy I could possibly gain. Because otherwise, this theory doesn't really add up, you know? Unless it's one of those things where it's like, let's take Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, for instance. You need to first, like, unlock the potential to have magic, and then your magic bar is on the screen, right? And then you can deplete your magic, you can run out, but at that point, you can find more magic and refill your supply. So in that sense, it is finite, but you're able to get more. So maybe that's the case for this. You know, maybe we unlocked the potential to cast fire, spells, the potential to cast earth spells, wind spells, etc. And we have separate pools of energy for each, but maybe we could like regain that energy over time, maybe just by resting, I don't know. But otherwise, it seems weird.
It is only a matter of bringing that magic to the surface. Have you attempted to use another element before?
I shake my head. No, Leanna's just been teaching me wind magic.
I see. Then allow me to show you how to use fire magic.
What? Like right now? She nods and raises her hand. Flames blaze up and curl inside of her palm. Red and orange light flickers across her face. Whoa, that's awesome! Amelia doesn't smile, but I can see a spark of pride flicker behind her eyes. She closes her fist. The flames crackle between her fingers before flickering out with a puff of smoke.
Now, it is your turn.
Okay, how do I do it?
It is quite simple. Imagine the fire surging throughout your body. Imagine it flowing up your arm into your palm.
Cool.
If done correctly, a small flame should appear.
I nod and try to do as she says. I hold out my hand and close my eyes. My brows knit together in concentration. I picture flames coursing through my veins and out into my hand. A teasing warmth tingles down to the tips of my fingers, but nothing happens. I open my eyes, frowning. It isn't working. She crosses her arms.
This is a simple cast. Do not give up so easily.
Yeah, but maybe for me it's not so simple. It took me some time to learn wind magic. She blinks.
Yes, but this is not wind magic.
Okay.
Perhaps we need a different approach.
She pauses and taps her chin. Don't attack me.
You mentioned that absorbing each individual elemental energy gave you a different sensation. Perhaps we should focus on the emotional response you felt.
Okay, but when I got the wind energy, that was like a really playful kind of thing, right? I mean, I guess I felt the force of it, but it wasn't like, oh snap, a small child is about to die, you know? The emotion? She nods. It's worth a try. Closing my eyes, I remember the fire elemental. I remember the courage and strength that rushed through me at her touch. The feeling gathers inside of my chest, coiling like a hot band of scarlet. I reach out and latch onto it. A crackling, sparkling warmth bursts down my arm. I open my eyes. Red sparks fizz across my fingertips. A huge grin splits my face. Whoa! Amelia calmly nods.
Try snapping your fingers.
I do. A tiny flame hisses and crisps, expanding into a larger one. I'm so excited I almost start laughing. Sweet! She glances at the small flame and then nods.
Yes, good. Now, let's try this.
Wait, what? The tiny flame puffs out. There's more? Amelia blinks.
Of course. You have only succeeded in creating a basic fire spell. As such, there's still more work to be done.
Like, duh. She's a lot stricter than Leanna. I hadn't realized how encouraging it was to have a mentor who shared in the excitement of my accomplishments until now.
If my hypothesis is correct, you should be able to combine your wind magic along with your fire magic.
A dry forest would be the perfect place to test this new magic. Casting at the same time?
Correct. It is the same as any other cast. Focus on channeling your energy through your hand again. If it is easier, perhaps it would be best to summon the wind magic first and add the fire afterwards.
So it might be a small thing, but just, you know, it's the same as any other cast. Is it though? Because in order to cast fire, I had to like, you know, grab onto a specific emotion. And, you know, supposedly to make wind casting easier, I'd do the same. Like, how many competing emotions am I supposed to have? Obviously, it'll get easier over time, and I won't have to rely so much on that, like in-game, but... Amy waits for me to try, but I shake my head. Isn't that what mage casters do?
Yes.
And doesn't it take years of schooling to become a mage caster student? Even more than it takes to become a full-fledged mage knight?
That is also correct.
What makes you think I'll be able to do it with no training and a rudimentary understanding of single-element casting?
Your ability for learning is already expedited when you consider the length of time it took you to learn how to cast at all. Understanding those timelines, it does not seem unlikely that you would be able to quickly acclimate to double element casting.
Okay, I'll give it a try then. Reluctantly, I extend my hand. Instantly, a cool wind pours from my palm. Amelia's pigtails flutter in the soft breeze.
Good. Now add the fire magic.
How?
The same way you would normally cast fire.
Which I've done once. How am I supposed to feel that same strength with fire and the feeling of freedom and weightlessness with wind? Thank you. Searching within, I try to balance those two feelings and combine them into one. A moment later, that familiar tingling sensation murmurs down my arm. Heat sparks across my fingertips. Fire, larger this time, blazes into turrets around my hand and wrist. I jolt back, expecting for it to burn, but it doesn't. The wind groans and whiffs around the flames, fanning them larger and larger.
Stop.
I do. The fire and wind sputter out, and the rest of my strength slips away. My knees buckle and I gasp, falling backwards against a tree. I slump to the ground like a deflated balloon. I didn't realize it would take that much out of me.
Just as I expected.
Amelia blinks when she notices me on the ground.
Are you unwell?
I lean my head against the tree. I'll be okay. That was just a lot of energy.
I see.
She pauses, deep in thought.
Such a feat should have taken you significantly longer to learn.
Didn't you just say it was expedited? She lifts her gaze back up to my face.
It might be easier for you to channel your energy because you have been absorbing magic directly from the elementals. Your progress seems to be accelerated because you are using energy stored directly from within you, instead of a secondary source, such as a manipulator.
Right. I nod, trying to take all of this information in at once, but my body feels so drained. It's suddenly an effort to keep my eyes open or my limbs up. I don't know, see, all this new information that we're getting, I thought we already knew. Like, I thought we were already supposed to know this stuff. Amelia glances at me again.
That is enough practice for tonight. Perhaps it would behoove you to get some rest.
Maybe, yeah. I let out a yawn. I am pretty tired, and it is still the middle of the night. Her brows knit together in thought.
Although, if merely casting 2 simple spells in conjunction exhausts you to this degree, I do fear how including more elements will affect you.
The text says in conjugation. That's not the same. What do you mean?
For you to successfully open a rift, you will have to engage all of the elements you have absorbed.
Alright, where are you pulling this? Because not once was it ever mentioned that a rift would entail using all of the elements. And we only just discovered, you only just had the thought that I could, like, summon more than one element, that I could successfully cast from more than one element. Like, if you knew that the rifts took all of the elements, you should have thought that this was like, that this wouldn't happen at all. That this would never work, that this was like a worthless endeavor. You should have told me this a lot earlier. That's what I'm saying, Amelia.
To cast multiple elements at once may prove fatal if you experience such exhaustion from using just 2 elements in such a basic cast.
This part seems a little dumb because of that. My insides freeze. That's a bit of an exaggeration, isn't it? Amy shrugs.
Of course. This is merely speculation based on my observations.
Did you not know that the rifts before would take all 4 elements? But if that's the case, or I say all 4, maybe it's 5. But if that's the case, how do you know now? Like, what else did you look into that would give you that new information? Silence fills my head. It's an odd pounding, fizzing pressure.
Perhaps you will be able to gain the strength to cast all of the elements simultaneously.
One would hope. What do you mean?
The more you use magic, the more accustomed you become to it. Just like muscles can be strengthened with stamina, your mind can be exercised in such a manner for casting.
How long will that take? She hesitates.
It is no mistake that as you lack the years of training many other casters undertake, you tire much faster than others. At this time, it is difficult for me to estimate that.
That's reasonable, yeah. My heart sinks. This whole time I've been gathering energy from each of the temples to find a way home, but now there's a chance I won't even survive long enough to make it back? I fall silent. Amy watches me closely and grows uncomfortable with my disappointment.
As I mentioned before, this is purely speculation.
I nod, barely registering what she says. My head feels numb.
Given you are exhausted, it would benefit you to get some rest.
Amy hesitates again, as if unsure what to do next.
Good night.
Night. She turns on her heel and walks back to camp, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I may actually never return home. my friends and family, I may never see them again. My brain vaguely reminds me that I should go to sleep, but my feet are rooted to the ground. There was always the possibility that I may not be able to open a rift and go home, but the hope was always there. It didn't feel like such a real possibility before. Should I even bother trying to cast a rift if the consequences are literally deadly? Maybe I could be happy here on Terra. I think about my travel companions and the adventures we have together. We've only known each other for a short time, but I trust them completely. Plus, the thought of losing Leanna makes me feel empty. The world is so much fuller and brighter when I can see the way her eyes light up when she smiles, or how she plays with her manipulator when she's nervous.
Can't sleep.
Hey, Gingalan! I spin around at the voice and see Gingalan leaning against a tree. Oh, you're up? He nods.
I heard a noise which woke me up.
I see. It was probably my casting. He peers at me in the dark.
Something on your mind?
No, it's nothing. Neither one of us moves.
Of course, how can I expect you to be honest with me when I haven't been fully honest with you?
Oh, snap, do we get honesty? I don't know. I mean, bards, you know, in their silver tongues, they're so manipulative. I knew there was something suspicious about him, especially when he was asking all those questions. Tensing up, I watch him warily. Honest about what?
The truth is, I had an ulterior motive for joining your group. While I do still believe you'd all make for a fantastic story, I joined to get to know you specifically.
Why me?
I saw you at the beach.
The blood pounds in my ears. Maybe it's not what I think it is. So, we were all there just hanging out.
I saw you cast without using a manipulator. Save that boy.
My heart hammers in my chest and I ball my fists. He saw me and he sought me out. You must have been mistaken. That's impossible. Gingalan holds out his hands as a gesture of peace.
Please don't take that the wrong way. What you did was absolutely amazing, and I just wanted to learn more about you, to understand how you did that.
He's very quiet, by the way.
I apologize if I came off too strong.
I clicked twice, but I don't think it skipped anything. I'll check just in case. Log. Okay, no, I didn't miss anything. Cool. Are you going to tell anyone?
No. I understand what it's like to be different from the norm, and how it can be both something special and a burden.
Slowly, I relax my fists.
I don't blame you for hiding who you truly are. Sometimes that's the safest thing you can do for yourself and others.
It sounds like he's talking from experience. I think back to the story he told earlier in the evening. Maybe there was a lot more truth to it than he let on. Thank you. He cracks a smile.
So, will you tell me where you're actually from now?
I did, though. I freeze and he laughs at my bewildered look.
I'm just joking with you. If you ever do want to talk, maybe I can lend a little bit of insight. You don't get to my age without learning a thing or two.
Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks. He nods, then stretches. There's something about Gingalan. Maybe it's because he's new to the party and doesn't really know me yet, or maybe it's because I just really need someone to talk to. But something makes me want to share. The words tumble out of my mouth. Actually, there is something I'd like to ask you. He nods. So, supposing you had a friend who was from somewhere else, and the only way for him to go home is so dangerous there's a chance he wouldn't survive the journey. Would you still encourage him to take that option? Gingalan rubs his beard thoughtfully.
I would ask this friend what he means by home.
Oh, snap! I blink. His friends, his family, his entire life.
Do you think those people would want him to make a life or death decision just to return to them? Or would they feel better knowing he chose the path that would guarantee him a life he could live as he wished?
Your lips are barely moving, man. I never really thought about it like that. But then he'd be stuck in this new world, or in his new world forever. Gingalan shakes his head.
Life is a journey. There is no defined destination. And because of that, there are no right or wrong ways to travel along this journey. Perhaps one day, his journey will be safe. Or he may not want to go back. Perhaps another day, the choice will be made for him. Or he can choose between both.
I feel myself relax as he speaks. He's right. I shouldn't give up hope just yet because a challenge has been thrown my way. Thanks. That helps a lot.
Just remember that you have people who care about you, and will support you in whatever you decide.
No, it's not me. It's a...
Hypothetical friend, yes.
He winks at me, then stretches again.
Well, I think it's about time I try to get back to sleep.
Same here. It feels to me like Gingelin has experienced a lot more than the typical bard. Maybe he's also had to deal with some tough decisions in his life. Either way, he's pretty alright in my book. We head back to the rest of our party in silence. Only the gentle breathing of my friends can be heard over our footsteps. As I curl back up into my bedroll, I quickly drift off into a deep sleep. Happy peaceful sleepy time music. Cue outro, go!